evening, and thanks for joining us for this insider view of some of the wonderful things God is doing through the CME Community Pregnancy Clinic. My name is Bob Brooks. I'm proud to be both a volunteer and supporter of the CPC. And obviously we can't have our annual banquet like many of you are at least are used to, but that allows us virtually to take you into the clinic. We'll provide you a tour, introduce you to some of the staff, the volunteers and clients, and we'll follow that with an inspirational message from Joni Eareckson Tada. During my 37 years in law enforcement, one of the highlights was always the ability to work with others to help save the life of a child. If a child was missing, lost, injured, we'd spare no effort or expense to try to save that life. If the child was found, we'd rejoice with the families, we'd rejoice with the community. If the child was lost, we'd grieve with the families. We felt deeply the loss of even a single child. In contrast, in the United States, hundreds of thousands of unborn children are denied the right to the first breath. They pass into eternity without public outrage and with little attempt to save the life. But there's something we can do. Even here in Simi Valley, a partnership with the CPC puts you in the middle of a team that over the course of 30 years has helped 2,000 mothers choose life for their child. And at the same time, sharing the gospel, giving biblical advice to young people that are making the most important decisions they'll ever make. I'd like to introduce at this point our Executive Director, Jan Lackey, who will be taking the tour and introducing you to some very inspirational people.
Thank you, Bob, very much. Welcome. We're so glad that you're with us here tonight. The Community Pregnancy Clinic began in the late 1980s as a small outreach to women who found themselves in an unplanned or unexpected pregnancy. What began as that just coming alongside helping ministry developed into a 501c3 nonprofit in 1990. Since the legalization of abortion with Roe versus Wade, as Bob mentioned, 62 million babies have been lost to abortion in the United States. In 2017, the last year we have statistics for, we know that 182,000 babies have been lost just in California to abortion. In the early years of our ministry, we would come alongside with lay counseling, support, just letting women know that they had other opportunities, that there were other options. In 2005, we became licensed as a medical clinic through the California Department of Public Health, and we now run a licensed community clinic that allows us to offer pregnancy tests and ultrasounds, STD testing and treatment, as well as other services to help women have valid, accurate, reliable medical information. We know that if we can give one woman an opportunity to see her baby on the screen, to understand fetal development, to know the truth about life within, and she makes that choice for life, we're making an impact on a family. We're making an impact on life. We're making an impact on legacies and future generations. So tonight we are looking forward to giving you that inside look into the clinic, and we're about ready to start that tour now so that you can meet some of the staff, hear some of the stories, and be blessed by what God is doing at the Simi Valley Community Pregnancy Clinic. We have had a few different locations over the past 30+ years of ministry. We've moved to this location on Royal Avenue just over 6 years ago. As you can see, coming into our lobby and waiting area, clients are greeted by a receptionist who will check them in, make them feel welcome and cared for. This is important to us as we recognize many who walk through our doors do so with dread or fear.
Yeah, when I first walked through the door, I was super nervous. I didn't know what was gonna happen in the appointment, so but as soon as I walked through the door, everybody was so nice, so welcoming. So immediately I was, all those nerves were gone, and I felt like I was in the right place at the right time.
Once checked in, the client who believes she is pregnant is taken back to meet with a client advocate while the registered nurse performs her pregnancy tests. Here in the consultation room, the client meets with an advocate who is trained to assess things like how the client is feeling about her pregnancy, any perceived or stated needs, whether the father of the baby is involved or plans to be involved, and if she has or lacks support of her family. The important piece here is for her to know that we care for her, that we are concerned about her and her needs, and that there's no judgment for life choices or circumstances. This is an important time for us to listen well, to begin to establish relationship. Women come to us with many concerns and family dynamics. We want to love them well and for them to know that this is a safe place.
I explained to them, my situation wasn't ideal, but I believe I was pregnant, and the room was very warm. It was very inviting. It felt like home when I could sit down and talk to the counselors. We did pray after discussing, what was going on in my life and what options I had. And after that, they went above and beyond with everything from the moment I stepped in the door till, I actually had the baby. And even afterwards, they followed up with me.
The advocate will be sure to explain access to resources in the community she may be in need of, like housing, legal aid, professional counseling, or education resources. We are also very open that we're a Christian organization, able to provide spiritual support for those who desire it, and we are always open to pray for and with the client who requests prayer. From the consultation room, the client will transition to the nurse's intake room. Here she meets one of our registered nurses who will provide the results of her pregnancy test and obtain a basic medical history related specifically to this pregnancy and past pregnancies. Our nurses also meet with young women and men who come in for testing and treatment of sexually transmitted diseases or infections. One of the key aspects of this time together is education on exposure, risks, signs and symptoms of infection, and encouraging words to help young people reflect on those opportunities to make different choices in the future, to value their body and protect their health. For our pregnant client who has been assessed to be at least 6 weeks pregnant, the next step will be in the ultrasound room. The registered nurse will bring the client in and explain the procedure to her, then prepare her for the examination. Instructions include that we do what is called a limited obstetrical ultrasound, and that we are looking specifically at location, size or age, and heart activity. Location is to be sure the baby is in the uterus where it belongs. Size or age, that the baby measures in weeks and days what we expect based upon the woman's last monthly cycle, and then the heartbeat. Although the baby is only about the size of a grain of rice at 6 weeks, right there in the middle will be the beating heart. All three indicators show us a viable pregnancy, a living human being at only 6 weeks old. Our client today is 15 weeks and 3 days. As you can see, a fully formed baby in the womb. This baby is now so large that the baby is moving, and yet we can hardly see the entire baby on the screen. Isn't it incredible, human life? And again, she's only 15 weeks. A pregnancy, a full pregnancy, that's 40 weeks along. As the ultrasound is done, the nurse is explaining all of these details as she locates them to help the mom understand the developing baby within. Dr. Catherine Kim reviews every ultrasound and diagnoses the viable pregnancy in writing based on these ultrasound images.
Yeah, when I first saw the ultrasound, I was still in shock. I feel like people normally would cry. People would get super, I just could not believe it. So I was going through a really hard time at that point. So I was more stressed. I was more stressed because I knew that there was so many things that I had to fix, and I just didn't know where to start.
When I first saw the baby on the ultrasound, it was exciting. I was scared, but I was so excited to actually see, life come about, and without being too scared, because I still hadn't talked to Dad, I was excited for myself. I was very, very, very happy.
once I was able to physically see my baby on that screen, oh my gosh, it changed everything for me.
The ultrasound has been an invaluable piece of technology. It is a place where a young woman's heart is connected to the life within simply by seeing those first pictures on the screen of her unborn child. Upon completion of the ultrasound, the client receives pictures of her baby, ultrasound images to take home and share with others. She is encouraged to begin prenatal care with a local obstetrician and often given a starter pack of prenatal vitamins and lots of other literature to start the journey to a healthy, happy pregnancy. Since 1990, we have provided more than 18,840 appointments. We've seen at least 2,837 women planning on abortion or being vulnerable for abortion due to pressures or life circumstances. Of those women, 75%, or 2,129, have chosen life for their unborn child. Our legacy at the CPC is life, 2,129 of them so far. There's so much more we could talk about, other services we provide, areas that we help in the community. But this gives you a look at the heart of our ministry, helping that woman who is in an unplanned pregnancy, making one of the most important decisions of her life. So there you have it, the Community Pregnancy Clinic, from the moment she arrives till she leaves, helping love each woman with the love of Christ as she comes through our doors.
When I left CPC after the ultrasound and discussing things with the counselor, I had walked out the door with not only a gift, like an outfit for my baby, you know, just something, you know, to remember her by, and for her when she was born, and the ultrasound. I had numerous pictures, and that was what I needed to, you know, sit down with the family, sit down with the father, and just, you know, once you see that picture, it's hard to go any other way. And you know, it's the best thing I could have done. I was so scared at my age, very scared, you know, because, you know, I'm just, I wasn't expecting it. It was all of a sudden, and I thank God to this day that, you know, that I had her. And if it wasn't for the CPC, I wouldn't be here today, and she's the best thing in the world.
Throughout my whole pregnancy, you know, Joyce would check up on me. They would invite me to come and have more ultrasounds up until I think about 25 weeks. And, you know, they'd make sure that I had everything that I needed, you know, prenatals and everything that I needed for to have a healthy pregnancy. So it was just nice to know that somebody was thinking about me.
I was so excited when Joni Eareckson Tada agreed to speak for this event. She's one of the most inspirational and courageous women that I've ever known. Joni Eareckson Tada, to give you a little bit of background, broke her neck in a diving accident when she was 17. Following that, she felt like life was over. She was discouraged and depressed, but through a relationship with Jesus Christ, she found purpose in her life, and over the course of years started a Christian organization called Joni and Friends. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. Joni and Friends has reached out to millions all over the world through Joni's leadership. This year in 2020, they were planning on having 90 family retreats, retreats that minister to the families, both the typical and disabled children, giving the parents a break, spiritual refreshment, and giving them hope and people that can partner with them in life. In addition to that, they have, through Wheels for the World, distributed almost 200,000 wheelchairs and Bibles in all over the globe in undeveloped countries, showing people the love of Jesus, showing them that their life is valuable and worthwhile. Joni suffered a bout with cancer in 2010, stage 3. She recovered from that, and in 2019 had a reoccurrence. She has battled quadriplegia and all of the other diseases and handicaps that go with that for over 50 years. And through that time, she's risen above the obstacles and been an ambassador for Jesus Christ and an ambassador for people that can't speak for themselves all over the world through her writing, her singing, her radio broadcast, her personal presence and advocacy. The unborn have never had a better champion than Joni. I'm so proud that she's with us tonight.
Hi, I'm Joni Eareckson Tada, and I want to thank my very good friend Bob Brooks, chairman of the CPC Board of Directors, for inviting me to participate in this wonderful event celebrating 30 years of ministry and service here at the Community Pregnancy Clinic. God's favor cannot help but shine on Simi Valley and its people for more than 3 decades of prayer and financial support and volunteer service that you friends have invested in this life-changing work. And I'm honored to be here tonight to lend my congratulations and offer a couple of words of encouragement because, like you, I want to leave a legacy of life. I want to help women understand the life value of a child in the womb. I want to do what I can to urge them to choose life for that little one. And I want them to know that they're not alone as they do. Community Pregnancy Clinic sees to that. You friends here at CPC Simi Valley, you're reaching out to these women. You provide what? Compassionate support and prayer and guidance, information that informs, helping them make wise decisions. CPC is sharing resources and plenty of heartfelt one-on-one follow-up. There's a very personal, special reason that I want to say these few pro-life words to you. God has given me a special affection for and a calling to advocate for people who are at risk, people who are vulnerable, people who do not have a voice, people that we don't think about because we don't see them. They're often hidden from sight. Yes, that is the preborn child, but it is also that unborn child or infant or adult with a disability. And that's why I love what I do at Joni and Friends. We work hard to promote a biblical worldview on the dignity and value of every person. Yes, especially people with disabilities. I mean, we work hard to expose the worldview that says life only has meaning if you are cognizant or if you have functioning abilities, if you are a productive, contributing member of society. Oh, friends, that worldview has denigrated tens of thousands of disabled and elderly Americans and the unborn and infants. And we want us all to grasp the fact that all life is worth living, no matter how impaired or how old or how young you are. Why am I so passionate about this? Well, as many of you know, I broke my neck in a diving accident well over 5 decades ago, and I've lived with quadriplegia far more than 50 years and all that time, and I have seen what happens to people when God is removed from the national conversation. In our work, I've seen what happens when even Christians buy into the lie that you are better off dead than disabled, whether you live in a wheelchair or live inside of a womb. And my role in the pro-life movement is to honor and protect the lives of the medically fragile, the elderly, the disabled, and that includes preborn children, especially those with disabilities. It's what I love to do. It is my legacy. You know, some time ago, I saw a television newscaster show an advertisement that highlighted a young girl with Down syndrome. The news anchor applauded the advertiser for being up with the times, being inclusive. And of course, her co-anchor remarked on the beauty and winsome personality of this young actress with Down syndrome in the advertisement, how she represented the best of a wonderfully diverse society. Well, the next day I ran into a neighbor and they, "Did you see that news clip about that girl with Downs?" My friend said. "I mean, wasn't she an inspiration?" I nodded, but immediately thought of the dark irony because it was so schizophrenic. Countless preborn children with Down syndrome never had and never will have the opportunity to be winsome or inspirational because in our schizophrenic culture, they are ineligible for inclusion. They do not even qualify to be a part of a diverse society. Because if that young actor with Down syndrome, if she could rewind the clock and maybe she might suddenly find herself back in the womb of a different woman, a woman who is going to abort her, that child would be considered mindless fetal tissue, not worthy of dignity or human rights. What they call a pre-person, a human being that is not yet considered to be a person with full-fledged rights. In the same way, many so-called experts label people with Alzheimer's as post-persons. So whether at the end of life in a care facility or in the beginning of life in a womb, human worth is determined by one's cognitive and functional abilities, at least in a society where medical policy is shaped by a secular worldview. And sadly, people in our society do not see the double standard. And when man makes man in man's image, it can't help but breed a culture of death. C.S. Lewis alluded to this. He called it, quote, hanging human dignity, trying to hang human dignity on a peg in thin air. Because a peg in thin air has no support. Society may not want to admit it. Society may say they celebrate human dignity, but they do not. Society cannot, because when you take God out of the picture, we are not even glorified animals. Just ask the animal rights activists, because the egg of an eagle has more rights than a fertilized egg in a mother's womb. And if all we are is a bunch of molecules that are thrown together by chance, then why not abort an unborn human being? Or why not pull the plug? Or starve the infant? Or deny treatment to a 95-year-old? You know, what I'm saying here, all of it can be traced back to the 1973 Supreme Court decision in Roe versus Wade. To this day, we are still feeling the repercussions of listing abortion as a federally protected right. Those justices back in '73 could not have conceived the horrific impact of their decision. And they based that decision on what they saw as a, quote, woman's right to privacy, ruling that such a right was inherent in the U.S. Constitution. And once a mother's right to privacy trumped another individual's right to life, oh my goodness, the door was flung open, then eroding the rights of all vulnerable people. And now you need to know, though, that rights should be, and actually are, moral claims which we make upon society. But without God's standard of righteousness, there is no one to define what is moral. It becomes subjective. It becomes relative. And so people now hang morality, not just dignity, but morality on a peg in thin air. And that's when the exercise of personal rights quickly digresses into a national competition, pitting the strong against the weak, or as in the case of the preborn child, the vocal against the voiceless. When God was removed from the public square, back in the 70s, our nation lost its moral consensus, and society evolved into a haranguing group of individuals who argued about who's more victimized than who. And the losers in that argument are always the marginalized, the elderly, the disabled, and especially the unborn, preborn children. The vulnerable have never fared well in societies that have lost their heart, their moral center, their orientation to the God of absolutes. The vulnerable have never fared well in cultures that viewed life as a commodity. And when I say commodity, I'm referring to unborn children, or as society would say, fetal tissue that can be purchased, sold, harvested for organs, experimented upon, cloned, copied for research. And it all happened so fast. I mean, I remember back in the 1980s when I served on the National Council on Disability. Our council was appointed to it by President Reagan, and we were a bipartisan group of advocates, liberals and conservatives. And during one session, we reviewed a report on disability prevention measures that were being recommended by the National Institutes on Health. And in that document, the NIH listed abortion as a disability prevention strategy. And back then in the 80s, we were appalled. All 15 members of our council, independents, Republicans, Democrats, resoundingly condemned that report. No way should the NIH, a federally funded agency, no way should it tout abortion as a strategy to reduce disabling conditions. But just a few years later, the tide turned. Now in the US and many countries, abortion is lauded as an effective and progressive way to eradicate disabling conditions. Never mind that you eradicate the people with those conditions, right? Over the decades, in my years as a disability advocate, I have come to see that when people are treated as things, everyone in society loses. The common threads that have bound us together have unraveled. And so now everyone does what is right in their own eyes, much like the times of Isaiah when he said, "See, darkness covers the earth," the prophet says, "and thick darkness is over the peoples." Oh, that God would raise up new prophetic voices, friends like you, advocates to help dispel that darkness, bringing the God of the Bible back into the national debate, advocates who will be a voice for the voiceless, people who will show women who are bearing unborn children that yes, the life that they are carrying is precious. Their child has a right to life, a right that supersedes the lesser entitlement to convenience or comfort. Our nation needs people who care, friends who will speak up for, contend for, and rescue those who are falling through the cracks, especially the unborn. We need people who will put their pro-life convictions to work. How important are these friends and advocates? Well, okay, quick history lesson here. Just look what happened back in Germany less than a lifetime ago, when Nazi medical teams were looking for subjects on whom they could carry out their insidious research. The first to be carted off in the night from institutions were people, mentally handicapped people, people who had no family, no friends. Nazi medical teams singled out people who had no advocates, no one to speak up for them, no one who cared or dared to contend for them. Oh, friend, let's not allow history to repeat itself here. Let us be the advocates. Let us contend for the helpless, and let us dare speak up for and on behalf of the voiceless. Psalm 82 says, quote, "Defend the weak, uphold the cause of the oppressed, rescue the weak and needy, deliver them," get this, "from the hand of the wicked." And in our society, the hand of the wicked is out to destroy life. But God is looking for people who will champion life. Christians who will say to a young mother contemplating abortion, no, wait, sweetheart, wait, reconsider. This child growing inside of you bears the image of God. So please don't be deceived. The life of this little one is in larger hands than yours. This child is in the hands of God. And we want to help you ascribe positive meaning to this little unborn baby's life. Can you say that? We need people of God who will say it, who will pray for that mother, not letting her suffer alone. So many of these women are so alone. We want friends who will be her community, advocates who will pave the way for her baby to be welcomed, not just into our world, but into our churches. Oh, would you please be that champion for life? Will you stand in the gap? Tonight you will have an opportunity to make a difference. And so I charge you, please leave a legacy. Support those who, like my friends here, are on the front lines, pushing back the darkness and shining the light of truth. It's my prayer that you will leave a legacy of life, a legacy which will expose the schizophrenia and the doublespeak in our society. Please be a voice for life and shine the light of Christ in this dark land. Serve and volunteer to that end. Pray and give financially toward that end. Your participation strengthens the cause of Christ. So ask God that the people of this land might come together in a new moral consensus. Wouldn't that be great? That they might see the light of truth as we make a place for the weak and the vulnerable, for bewildered young mothers and the fragile children they carry in their womb. Oh, that each of us might be a herald of that truth, showing that human beings possess dignity because we reflect, we mirror our great Creator, and as such, we've got worth, intrinsic worth, because we bear the image of the Prince of Life, the one who is the way, the truth, and the life, the one who has the words of life, he who is the resurrection and the life, our Savior who died to give us life. May we pass on that life legacy by giving everything to safeguard life. God bless you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joni, for your support, for your encouraging words, for your challenge for all of us to stand up for every human being from the unborn through natural death. You are an advocate that has helped millions, and we're grateful that you joined us tonight. And next, we have a wonderful legacy story to share with you. It's the story of one of our very first clients here at the Community Pregnancy Clinic. It was actually just before we incorporated in the late 1980s. We're going to start with Claire Gallagher, who is a founding member of the Community Pregnancy Clinic, but she's also that client advocate, the lay counselor, who was with Jenny at that very first meeting to talk about her pregnancy, discuss her options, be an encouragement and support. And as the Lord would have it, they began a friendship that has lasted all these years. Here's Jenny's story.
Well, my story goes way back, even before the CPC was established. In the early years, this is over 33 years ago, the Lord laid it on my heart, as well as some other ladies at our church, to take a stand against abortion. So we started an organization called WIN, Women in Need. And one of the very first stories is there was a Simi Valley doctor who saw a patient, and she had an unexpected pregnancy. And after her visit with the doctor, the receptionist asked her if she would like to contact Women in Need. And the client said no, she didn't want to do that. So the receptionist then said, well, may we call you? And she said, okay. So we called her and we set up an appointment to meet with her. We didn't have an office at the time, so we met at the local coffee shop. We actually met at Denny's right here in Simi Valley. And that's a bit unconventional, and I was very nervous at the time meeting with her, but a lot of people were praying for both of us. And so that was the day I met our first client. This young woman had been through more in her first 25 years of life than most people experience in a lifetime. She and her family escaped from a communist country. They fled to America, and they all had to learn a new language. Along the way, she lost one of her siblings. She had a failed marriage and then an unexpected crisis pregnancy. So we ended up talking for more than 2 hours. I think it was closer to 3, and actually I did more listening and she did most of the talking. But God is so faithful. Jenny chose to keep her baby. And 6 years, well, he was about 6 years old. And Jenny met a fine man and they married. They've been married now over 25 years. And they had 3 more children, and she now has 3 grandchildren. So her son, who could have been an abortion victim, is now over 33 years old. And he has a lovely wife and 2 precious children. So it just goes to the faithfulness of God. By Jenny choosing to trust God, he brought her through all of this. And she once said, I thought I was saving a child, but I saved another generation. I would have never known my daughter-in-law and these 2 precious grandchildren. But what's even more amazing about this story is that Jenny and I are still friends. And our daughters are best friends, and they have each been maid of honor in each other's wedding. So it's a joy for me to call her friend. And Jenny, if you're watching this right now, I'm sending hugs your way and much love through cyberspace.
And so we met at Denny's, and I still remember that day and what I wear and all that. Raising a child on your own is not easy, but the decision was made, and you know that God is on your side. And when you know that God is on your side, all things is possible. Difficult, yes. Challenge, yes. Disappointment, heartaches, and all kind of stuff, just like you would raising a child with two parents. Because of that one decision that I made, now I actually have a son. He gave me two beautiful grandchildren. Every time when I see them, see their pictures, I am just so thankful that I have made that decision.
Just to add a little more to the story is her son, her firstborn son, is serving in our United States military right now. We thank him for his service, and we know that if he could be here with us, or if we could show you pictures, we would.
I am definitely grateful that my mom chose life. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if she hadn't. I can only hope that I can make her proud. Everyone deserves their shot, so I'm glad that she gave me mine. To me, legacy means continuing the family. My mom chose to have me, and she raised me in a loving family and gave me the tools, I think, to raise my own family and continue on the legacy. I'm glad that I had the opportunity.
If the definition of Jesus is love, and that his mission on earth is to save the lost, then CPC to me is the servants of God, and their mission on earth is to save the unborn babies one at a time through prayer and action.
And now we turn to my favorite part of tonight's program, because now you have a chance to participate, to respond to all the stirring testimonies, the words of challenge and hope that have moved your heart, Lord willing. Now's the time for you to be a patron of the gospel, a kingdom investor, and a benefactor in a wonderful legacy, a legacy of life through your generous financial gift. I mean, how many babies? How many souls will your gift rescue? Okay? Well, in Mark chapter 8, verse 36, Jesus says, get this, one soul is worth more than all the wealth in the world. Whoa. Oh, friend, that should inspire you to give, and give generously. Because according to Mark chapter 8, CPC here in Simi Valley is doing the most important work in the world, saving lives. Lives that are far more precious than we dare imagine. The wealth of the whole world. And should we assume that others will take care of the need, let's remember the words of Martin Luther. I love this quote. He said, "If I profess with loudest voice and clearest exposition every portion of the truth of God except that little point which the world and the devil are at that moment attacking, I am not confessing Christ, however boldly I may be professing Christ. Because where the battle rages, there the loyalty of the soldier is proved." That's great. Well, the world and the devil are at this minute attacking life. So let's prove our confession by standing with our friends here. So first, I'm going to ask you to pray for CPC and its ministry. Pray big, because the need is big. And as you pray, financially give. Dig deep and give big. Tonight we need to raise $75,000. Okay, it's a big amount, but we got a big God. The Bible says that God loves cheerful givers, and I believe that he loves cheerful askers too, and you will not find anyone happier to ask for your financial support for CPC Simi Valley than me. So be a generous gospel patron. And don't forget, when you give, there is a blessing. Luke chapter 6, verse 38 says that with the measure you use, it's going to be mirrored. It'll be measured right back at you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So, make an impact Now, you can do it with a one-time gift to reach this goal. And I do believe that there are people watching me right now, even now, who could cover that entire need of $75,000. And there are some who maybe could cover half that need or a third of that need with one check. I believe that. Or you could become a monthly partner. That'll really help our friends at CPC plan more effectively for the future when they know they've got monthly income. Now, there are lots of ways that you can give. You can do it online right after this by going to our website, cpccme.org/hope, or you can mail your personal check or bank draft to Community Pregnancy Clinic, 2045 Royal Avenue, Suite 208, Simi Valley, California, 93065. And should you mail your check, why don't you drop in a word of encouragement, would you? Finally, for all of you Zelle users, just launch your Zelle app and send your gift to office@cpccme.org. And please, do sense the urgency, would you? Respond to the call. Step up to the need, the plate. Invest where the kingdom is at its weakest, where the plight is the greatest, where people are desperate for hope. Give that hope. Give your legacy of life tonight. And God bless you as you do.
I just want to say thank you to all the supporters of CPC. I really don't know where I would be right now without CPC as far as my daughter goes. So I'm just very grateful that, you know, there's such kind people out there that are helping CPC to make this possible for all of us moms who need them. So thank you.
It's a big change in life. And I feel like now that she's here, she is 100% what was supposed to happen in my life. You know, I thank God that that was given to me, and she's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, this is probably the realest love I've ever had. The realest love, and it makes me so emotional. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I get so emotional about her. Yeah, this is like the happiest I've ever been. Yeah.
I'd like to take an opportunity to thank you, those of you who've been supporting faithfully over the years, those who are making a decision tonight to support the CPC, all the volunteers that have been part of the team. The ministry that's saving lives and introducing people to Jesus wouldn't happen without you.
And I'd like to take a minute to thank everybody who made this event possible. Very unusual circumstances this year, but God knew what we would be doing when we got on camera and decided to do this event for you online. Thank you to everyone who participated through the filming, the editing, the production, and just making the entire evening possible here at the church, over at the clinic, and all across our land tonight as you're watching with us. Thank you, and God bless you.
Let's close in prayer. Father, we're just grateful that you've given us the technology to be able to reach out even when we can't meet with people that are so close to us and part of the team. We know that you can overcome all of those obstacles because you love the children that are at stake. You love the women who are dealing with the hard decisions and sometimes the men. Father, I pray that you would not only supply abundantly to do the work that we've done so faithfully, but that you would exceed that amount so that we could reach other communities in the inner city of LA, the specifics of all of those things you know. We're grateful for everything that you've done, grateful for your love for children, grateful that you've given other people a heart for children as well. And we thank you for again in Jesus' name.
Amen.